First thing we're going to do if you're not there already is go to the t3tracking.com website. This will take us to the T3 homepage. Any browser is fine. We found Internet Explorer probably works the best, but Google Chrome works just fine, Firefox. Then we're going to scroll down to this client login and we're going to hit Pocket Payroll. This will take us to the Pocket Payroll login screen. We will have provided your initial login or the admin login, so you'll go ahead and enter that information in and hit login. Once you're logged in, the Pocket Payroll Manager site will open to the Users section. If you're not seeing this screen, we'll hit Input Data at the top and then hit Users. To add a user, we're going to hit this green plus sign at the top, and you'll see a new row added to the list of current users. This is where you'll assign the information for that user. You see name, username, email address, and security level. The options after security level from client all the way to crew are optional. The last option, that active, we'll go ahead and leave that checked. This is to say that this user is indeed being used and is allowed to log in. Once we're done entering the information for the user, we'll hit the save icon at the beginning. It looks like a floppy disk. This will make sure all that information is saved in for that user. To update or change information for a current user that's already in the system, we'll hit the edit icon. It's next to the save one at the beginning of the row. This will allow us to change any information that we want to update. Also, the password button at the end will allow us to change the password for that user. So we'll put in the new password twice and we'll hit change password, and it'll let us know that we have indeed changed the password for that user. Of course, after making any changes, we want to make sure we go back and hit save to make sure those changes are registered and saved into the system. The last thing I'll walk us through is deleting a user, so we'll go ahead and hit this remove button at the end of the row. It'll pull up a message telling us to be sure that this is what we want to do, because once a user is deleted, it is permanent. So I'll get to the login screen, go ahead and enter the information and log in. Once logged in, we're going to go to input data and we'll hit client units and subunits. A listing of your current clients will now appear on the screen. If you have no clients or you would like to add a new client, click on the green and white plus symbol located next to the description heading. You will now see a new row added to the list of clients. For description, enter the desired name, abbreviation, or code that your company wishes to use to identify that client. We will also enter display ID. It is important that each client has its own unique display ID. It is not uncommon to just start at one and continue from there. A specific overtime rule can also be assigned here, but it is not required. Neither are the optional external and miscellaneous ID fields. However, I'll go ahead and fill some out just for demo's sake. Once our desired information is entered in, we'll hit the save icon at the beginning of the row that looks like a floppy disk. You are now ready to assign a unit to your client. So next, we'll click on the black plus symbol located at the beginning of that client's row. You will now see a smaller box come up for the unit area. It functions the same way as the client area, so we'll hit the green plus sign and we'll add our information in. This also needs a unique display ID, so in the same manner, we'll start with one and go from there. For subunits, we'll do the same and hit the black plus sign for the unit that we want to add subunits to, and we'll hit the green plus sign to add the subunit. We'll see a bit more fields in this one. This is for tracking purposes, and data is not required in any of these sections in order for the program to run properly. I'll go ahead and add some more entries just so you can see what it looks like when we have multiple units with multiple subunits. So now you'll see the demonstrated tree view of Pocket Payroll for our clients, units, and then one more down for subunits. To edit any of the fields that we've entered, we'll hit the edit icon at the beginning of the row, and this will allow us to change any information that we want. This edit function is available all the way down the tree view, from clients, units, all the way to subunits. For deleting any of the entries we've created, we'll see the remove button at the end of the row. A message will pop up to be sure we are certain that we want to delete this, because once deleted, it is permanent. From the T3 homepage, I'll go ahead and get logged in and take us through activities. Once logged in, we'll go to input data and we'll go to activities. This will pull up a list of our current activities, and to add a new one, of course, we'll hit the green plus arrow in the top left corner. For the description, we'll enter the desired name, abbreviation, or code that your company wishes to use to identify that activity. For the display ID, it does need to be unique, so you'll see that we started with 1 and went from there. We can make changes to any of the fields we've created using the edit button at the beginning of the row. This allows us to make changes, and then of course after we're done, we'll hit the save icon at the beginning of the row. However, if you've made changes that you do not want saved, there's also a cancel button next to that save button that will leave everything alone and nothing will be changed. From the T3 homepage, I'll go ahead and get logged in and walk us through packages. Once logged in, we'll go to input data and we'll go down to packages. This will pull up a list of our packages, and to add a new one, we'll hit the green plus sign in the top left corner. The package description will enter the desired name, abbreviation, or code that your company wishes to use to identify that package. This will also match the description field. For the display ID field, they all need to be unique, so we'll start with 1 and we'll go down from there. Be sure to hit the save icon to ensure that all information is saved. To make changes to any entry, we'll hit the edit button at the beginning of the row. This will allow us to make any changes, and then once we're done, be sure to hit the save at the beginning of the row to keep all the changes. To delete, there is a remove icon at the end of the row. A message will pop up to be sure that this is what we want to do. From the T3 homepage, I'll go ahead and get logged in and I'll take us through crews. Once logged in, we're going to go to input data and we'll go down to crews. This will pull up a list of our current crews. To add a new one, we'll hit the green plus sign in the top left corner. This will pull up a new row where we can give a desired name for the crew in the description field, as well as a unique display ID. All of these need to be unique, so you'll see we'll start with 1 and go from there. The miscellaneous and external ID fields are optional, so we don't need to fill those out. However, we do need to press save, so be sure to press the save button over here to make sure the changes are saved. To edit, we'll go over here on the left side and press the edit button. This will allow us to make any changes that we want to make, and like I said, after we're done, be sure to press save to make sure those changes are kept. Lastly, I'll go over removing an entry. On the right, we'll see this remove button. It'll pop up a message that says, "Are you sure?" Because once it's done, it is permanent. Okay, from the home page, I'll go ahead and log in and I'll walk us through employees. So once we're logged in, we'll go ahead and go to input data and employees. Now we'll see a lot of fields here. Most of them are not required, so I'll just go over the ones here that are required. So we'll start a new employee by pressing this green plus sign. And I'll enter in a name. This next field for display ID, these do need to be unique for each employee. So here we'll start with 1 and go from there. A social security number is also required, but we can put in 0 if you don't have them, or if you just don't want to put them in there, 0 is fine. A crew is required as well, so it's best if we create them prior to creating an employee. An arbitrary crew 1 is fine, or if you have crews, of course we'll use those. The last necessary field or required field is this external ID. This is used by a lot of payroll software, so we like to just go ahead and match the display ID. However, you'll know if you need to use a different one. And once we're done entering information, we want to press this save button to ensure that everything is kept. I'll go ahead and create another employee. If you notice, I'm using the same steps from the first employee, however, just a different display ID and external ID. As fun as it may be entering these in one by hand, there are companies with quite a few employees, and for that we have an import function where we can mass import these employees and not have to enter them all in. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So at the top you'll see where it says imports. We'll go ahead and hit that imports button. This will pull up a list and we'll go to employee because that's what we want to import, and we'll hit browse so that we can choose a file that we want to import. Once you've loaded that file in, you'll be able to hit the import employees button and it should pull all of those employees in for us. Perfect, 16 employees imported. So once we go into input data and employees again, we'll see a list of all the employees that we've imported as well as the ones I entered by hand. Editing is also possible. On the left, you'll see the edit button. So we'll go ahead and edit Timmy really quickly, and we can make any changes that we want. And of course, press save at the end once we're done, and delete is on the right. But be sure you want to do that because once that's done, it's permanent.